We are complying with the government's legal directive and are removing access to Fable 5 and Mythos 5 for all users.
Imagine spending years telling the world that something you built is genuinely dangerous. You restrict it. You warn about it. You make it a selling point, and then one day, the government takes you at your word and shuts it down. That's essentially what happened to Anthropic this week, and the consequences go well beyond one company or one AI model. Some background first. Anthropic is one of the leading artificial intelligence companies in the world. A few months ago, they unveiled their most powerful model yet, called Claude Mythos. Rather than releasing it to the public, they kept it tightly restricted, and their reason was striking. Mythos, they said, was so capable of finding security vulnerabilities in software that releasing it broadly would be genuinely dangerous. It had identified flaws in every major operating system and web browser it tested. Instead of a public launch, Anthropic created something called Project Glasswing, a controlled program sharing Mythos with roughly 50 vetted organizations, including Amazon, Apple, Google, Microsoft, and CrowdStrike, specifically for defensive cybersecurity work. That decision to restrict it was, at the time, framed as the responsible thing to do. What changed this week? 3 days ago, Anthropic released something called Fable 5. Think of it as a version of Mythos fitted with guardrails, safety filters designed to block responses in high-risk areas like cybersecurity and biology. The idea was that with those protections in place, the model was safe enough for general release. By independent benchmark testing, it was immediately the most capable AI model available to the public. Then, on Friday at 5:21 p.m. Eastern Time, Anthropic received a government directive ordering them to shut it down. Not just for some users, for everyone worldwide. The order came from the U.S. Commerce Department as an export control action, formally restricting foreign nationals from accessing the models. But because Anthropic has no way to instantly verify citizenship during every query, they made the call to take both Fable 5 and Mythos offline entirely for all users globally. Every other Anthropic model, Opus, Sonnet, Haiku, remains fully operational. Why the government acted? According to Anthropic's own account, the government's underlying concern is a claimed jailbreak of Fable 5. Someone, apparently, found a method to get around the model's safety guardrails. Here's where it gets complicated. Anthropic says the government has so far provided only verbal evidence of what it describes as a narrow, non-universal jailbreak. The specific capability at issue, as Anthropic describes it, is prompting the model to read a codebase and identify software vulnerabilities. Anthropic's pushback is pointed. That level of capability, they say, already exists in other publicly available AI models, including OpenAI's GPT 5.5. It's also something cybersecurity professionals use routinely for defensive purposes. Anthropic also argues that its most important safety protections run through separate classifier systems that operate independently of the model itself, meaning even if someone talks past a refusal, the deepest protections remain in place. The company complied with the order, but it didn't stay quiet about disagreeing with it. The irony at the center of this is where the story gets genuinely interesting and worth sitting with. Anthropic spent months publicly emphasizing how dangerous Mythos was. That caution was real, and the reasoning was defensible. But it also created a public narrative. This model is uniquely powerful, uniquely risky, unlike anything before it. When you make that case loudly and repeatedly, you are not just talking to your customers. You are talking to regulators. You are talking to governments. And when a government decides to act on exactly the concerns you raised yourself, it's difficult to then argue they've overreacted. Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, a direct competitor, put it bluntly back in April. He compared Anthropic's approach to saying we built a bomb, we were about to drop it on your head, and we will sell you a bomb shelter. That's a competitive jab, not an objective analysis. But it identified something real. The marketing of danger has consequences. What this means for everyday people. If you were using Fable 5 for work, and many people and businesses were, some in the middle of significant projects, access simply vanished without warning. That's a practical disruption with real costs. More broadly, this sets a precedent that matters. The U.S. government has now demonstrated it is willing to order an AI company to pull a commercial model from hundreds of millions of users based on a national security concern, without, according to Anthropic, providing detailed written evidence of the specific threat. Anthropic's own warning captures what's at stake. If this standard were applied consistently across the industry, it would, in their words, essentially halt all new model deployments for all frontier AI providers. Whether that's an exaggeration or a genuine risk is something policymakers will now have to grapple with. There is also the question of what this means for AI development more broadly. Export controls on advanced AI are not new. Restrictions on selling chips and software to certain countries have been tightening for years. But pulling a deployed consumer model mid-use on national security grounds is a different kind of action, and it signals that governments are increasingly willing to intervene directly in what AI the public can access. What happens next? Anthropic says it is working to restore access and believes the directive is based on a misunderstanding. The company is expected to pursue an IPO this year, and this disruption, both the shutdown itself and the public dispute with the government, lands at a sensitive moment for that process. Whether access is restored in days or weeks, and under what conditions, will depend on conversations happening right now between Anthropic and the Commerce Department that the public isn't privy to. What we can say is this: the era of governments treating advanced AI as purely a private sector matter appears to be ending. The question of who decides which AI models are safe enough to exist in public hands, companies, governments, or some combination of both, is no longer theoretical. That debate is happening now, and its outcome will shape what tools the rest of us have access to for years to come.